Hopefully come back on. And it's on. Nice. And we're gonna shoot the LED into that. Let's see through it. Alright, the self-funded Sprite T is good to go. Alright. That's the ping. The ping is 6. The internet download speed is 200. It is good. It is good. Upload speed was reaching that 200 mark, but it's also good. It is good. It is good. All right. Another study about that
bandits
tomorrow.
and began forcing travelers to pay tolls. He worked tirelessly day and night until he became known as Jang Sam of the Thousand Strength, capable of striking fear into many hearts. As on any other day, he gathered his men to patrol during the early morning. For some idiotic reason, he couldn't stop walking and ended up leaving the 5 Great Mountains. His men showed him the young master Jin's carriage, and he commented that it looked like they were loaded with money. Zhang, excited, said that luck was on his side and shouted for the carriage to hand over everything they had. The coachman informed Jin that there were 6 of them in total and that they didn't seem to have prepared any traps. Jin, scared inside the carriage, wondered about the 6 bandits. He knew bandits like them were quite common, but it was the first time he had seen something like this in that region. The protagonist questioned the reason for this. The coachman, an experienced old man, explained that outside the 5 Great Mountains, attacking someone from a family of martial artists was almost suicidal. He said that trying to rob within the Jin family's territory was something only guys with nerves of steel would dare to do. The young master thought this was because they must be tutorial NPCs. He wondered if the coachman had any tricks up his sleeve, given how calm he seemed in a situation like this. The old man, holding a rope, asked if he should take care of him. Jin began to think that the coachman must be a martial artist, and not just a simple driver, considering the extra care Wulwa showed toward him. The bandit leader shouted, asking if they hadn't heard what Jang Sam of the Thousand Strength had said. The old man called them ignorant bastards and questioned how mere bandits dared to block their way. He said that for all the evil they had done, he should gouge out their eyes, cut their bodies into pieces, and kill their entire family for 9 generations. Jang Sam replied that he was clearly terrified by all that talk and asked if the coachman was escorting the emperor or something. He demanded to see the noble face of the person inside the carriage. The coachman warned him that he would regret those words. He said that no one had ever survived after seeing his face. Jang Sam laughed. "Hurry up and reveal who is inside the carriage," he urged. The old man continued. "Ignorant fools," young Master Jin thought. "Finally, I'm about to witness the skills of a martial arts master." The coachman remained silent and slowly returned to the carriage. Jin, confused, wondered, "What the hell is going on? Why is the coachman coming back?" The old man said, "It seems the young master will have to step out and meet them." Jin questioned, "Why do I need to get out?" The coachman explained, "These are the kind of people who need to see the terrifying power of the young master in person." He added, "Since they dared to stop the young master, it's probably because they have never witnessed the powers of a true martial arts master. They need to be taught a proper lesson," he said, mentioning the divine blade. Jin recounted the stories he had heard about him. At the age of 20, Jin was considered a genius swordsman who had reached the peak of the Murim world. Hearing the young master's story, the old man's heart was filled with both fear and reverence for his achievements. The protagonist thought, "I think a mistake is being made." The coachman insulted the bandits. "Do you still not recognize who this person is?" he asked. He declared, "He is the second son of the Jin family of Taiyuan, the renowned martial artist of the Shaanxi province." Jin tried to interrupt. "Wait a second," he said, but the old man continued. "He is the divine blade Jin Mu Kyung." Embarrassed, Master Jin tried to correct him. "I'm actually Jin Tae Kyung," he said. Silence followed. The old man, incredulous, asked, "What did you just say?" The young master explained, "This is why I tried to speak earlier. I'm not Jin Mu Kyung." Realizing the mistake, the coachman asked, "Are you saying you are Jin Tae Kyung, the useless third son?" The young master confirmed it. The old man began to feel unwell, collapsing unconscious to the ground. Meanwhile, the protagonist thought, "The real idiot was me for assuming the old man was a martial arts master. All the bandits started laughing. Jang Sam commented, I'm not sure if the young master is really the third son, but I'll let him live as long as he obeys our orders. The young master, glancing at the quest system window, thought, letting him live isn't going to happen. Observing the bandits, he noted, there are 6 of them. He recalled having fought 6 goblins before. But these guys are different, he realized. One of the bandits threw an axe in his direction. The young master, Jin, was startled and asked for a second to think. But he noticed that the axe fell weakly to the ground. Upon closer observation, he realized that aside from Jang Sam, the 1,000 strength, the others seemed much weaker than the goblins he had faced. If that was the case, he thought, I could take them on. The protagonist raised his arms, and the bandit leader noticed. It was a good choice to surrender, the bandit leader said. The young master thought, they can keep laughing. Jang Sam commented that he had heard of a son from the Jin family who was expelled. Someone whose martial arts were of a third-rate warrior and who was only good at chasing women. He added, this son also seemed good at knowing when to give up. The subordinate who threw the axe said to the leader that the young master was walking toward them. Doesn't he look like a run-over dog? As Jin approached the bandits, he thought, I only need 2 more steps. The leader laughed, agreeing with the subordinate. But the protagonist took those 2 steps and felt something strange in his body. He realized he was heating up and wondered if this was what they called qi. He flexed his feet on the ground and dashed rapidly toward the bandits. They were surprised to see him already in front of them. The young master opened his inventory and equipped the sharp spear. Jang Sam raised his axe, but it was too late. Jin thrust the spear into the bandit leader's chest, landing a critical hit. A system message appeared. You have eliminated Jang Sam, level 10. You leveled up. You have gained 10 skill points. You have unlocked the Jin family's cultivation technique. The bandits were shocked. The protagonist pulled the spear from the leader's body and asked, who will be next? The bandits quickly begged for mercy. At that moment, several system windows appeared, notifying that he had completed the quest tutorial part 3. His fame had increased. The current quest tutorial part 4 is now available, and your health recovery will be fully restored. Scene change. While eating chicken, Jin commented that he had heard VR games could slow down time. He said he was confused as to why they use something so incredible like that only for game development and not in other fields. Thinking about it, he was sure it could be useful in many other places. Song replied that he was talking nonsense again and explained that the method put pressure on the brain. He mentioned that most VR games transmitted information to the brain in a way that the standard time difference was usually 1 hour in the real world for every 3 hours inside the game. The protagonist, surprised, asked, was that the standard? He continued, were there variations? His friend explained, if the capsule's technology was good, the difference could be a bit greater. He added, but the cost to create such equipment was so high that most people wouldn't be able to afford it. Jin asked, were they really that expensive? Song replied, I'm not sure. Back in the present, the coachman, wide-eyed and shocked, observed the situation. He asked, was that really done by Jin? The young master confirmed it. The old man, seeing all the bandits subdued, couldn't believe what he was seeing. He asked, are you sure you aren't Master Jin Mu Kyung? The protagonist, annoyed, asked, how many times do I have to repeat that I'm Jin Tae Kyung? He told the coachman, get ready. Lost in thought, Jin wondered, is it possible that the capsule had such an extreme time difference? Although the capsule seemed like junk, he acknowledged that the game's graphics were of high quality. He started thinking it might be highly advanced equipment. Still lost in thought, the young master grew frustrated. He said, I don't understand anything anymore. He continued, anyway, I believe I'm about to wake up. He decided to open the skill menu. Observing his status window, he thought, I'm still stunned. Unable to believe any of this was real, he decided to distribute his points later. For now, he preferred to read the descriptions of his skills. Seeing the Jin family spear technique, footwork technique, and cultivation technique, he reflected, I've never used these abilities before. The rank is at the peak, and he realized that the Jin cultivation technique was indeed very good. Suddenly, another system message appeared, notifying that tutorial part 4 was about to begin. Seeing that failure would result in death, he wondered, is the system messing with me? He thought, if I wait a bit longer, I'm almost sure Song can save me. He added, I'm not sure if I want to risk my life for a few quest items. The system notified him that it was waiting for a response. With a mischievous smile, the protagonist said, I won't accept, and instead I'll refuse. However, another system window popped up, stating that he could not refuse a tutorial quest. Once again, the option to accept appeared, and he got irritated. He shouted, "I said I'm refusing." He questioned, "Why are there two accept buttons?" Suddenly, another message notified that the quest had been automatically accepted. The young master, Jin, began cursing at the system as multiple windows appeared notifying that the tutorial was starting. He needed to prepare as the Jin family's cultivation technique would enhance stability and chi control would commence. Since it was his first time using chi control, he would receive a helper for the quest. He thinks this is ridiculous and that the system is just ignoring him. Now he vows that once he gets out of here, they'll see. Suddenly, the space around him begins to distort, creating a black hole. Frightened, he closes his eyes. Upon opening them, he finds himself in a vast, white room. Confused, he asks, "Where am I?" A voice calls out, telling him to come over. Looking back, he sees an old man sitting on the floor. Walking towards him, the young master wonders if this old man is his helper. The old man tells him to sit in the most comfortable position possible. Jin thinks that, to control chi circulation, one should sit in a lotus position. However, the old man says that only weaklings worry about such details, and that for martial arts masters, none of that matters. The protagonist wonders if the old man can hear his thoughts, and concludes that he must be a true martial arts master. The old man stands up and comments that Jin is quite interesting. He quickly strikes him as he passes by. The young master, Jin, is confused, while the old man tells him not to be surprised, explaining that he just opened his meridians. Now, the most important thing is for him to focus. Jin thinks he can't move, while the old man, with his hands on Jin's back, explains that knowing how to regulate the flow of chi is crucial for all martial artists. He says that this not only helps accumulate chi properly, but will also allow Jin's mind, chi, and spirit to become refined and polished, enabling him to reach a higher state of mastery. The old man instructs Jin to concentrate, clear his mind like water, and trace the flow of chi within him. Then, he says he will recite the verses of the Jin family's cultivation text technique and begins chanting several long verses without stopping, ordering Jin to follow them. The protagonist, sweating, wonders what exactly he's supposed to follow. Suddenly, a system window appears saying, "The chi circulation of the Jin family's cultivation technique must begin. Follow the light within the meridians." The lights begin circulating through his vessels, and multiple system windows notify. "You've completed chi control. You've completed the quest. You've completed all tutorial quests. The skill chi sensor has been acquired. A small amount of turbid chi has been expelled from your body. The main quest has been unlocked." A little later, back inside the carriage, the young master opens his eyes and sighs, commenting that he feels incredible and that his entire body seems completely restored. He reflects that chi is very interesting and wonders what exactly it is. The coachman, observing him, informs the young master that they've arrived at the Jin family's property in Taiyuan. A little earlier, while learning chi circulation, he noticed his chi. He wondered if it was 10 years' worth of accumulated chi. He believes it's a small but pure essence. He wonders if this could be another source of chi. He thinks that if he absorbs it, he's sure he will become even more powerful. But he concludes that he shouldn't do more than he's been instructed. It doesn't make sense to risk his life for something like that. So he decides it's better to focus on finishing the quest first, believing this was a good decision. Back in the present, the coachman informs him that they've arrived. Jin opens his eyes, surprised and excited, and asks the old man to go a bit slower. The coachman responds that he can do that. The protagonist opens the skill menu and activates the chi sensor. Upon seeing the skill description window, he remembers something. "This is exactly what I needed, the chi meter," he says. "I'll test the skill now," and activates it. He notices a circle forming beneath his feet. A system window appears, notifying, "You've activated the chi sensor skill." Since the skill is only at level 1 mastery, you'll only be able to identify things up to level 30 and within a range of 10 jang, or 30 meters. He begins observing the surrounding area, and another system window notifies, "You've identified a person using the chi sensor." He notes that the coachman's level is 4, and that his name is Wang Ha. Excited, he comments, "This is very cool and extremely useful for someone like me," thinking that he's finally gotten something good. He opens the quest menu. The young master is surprised to see the new quest window. The quest is named Logout, and the description reads, "You must prepare to leave this treacherous world of Murim, become more powerful and more respected than ever before." All of this will be preparation for that day. Unable to believe what he's seeing, he shouts, I can finally leave this place. Laughing, he says that all of this nonsense is just a game, and that it made him worry for no reason. He thinks that he only needs to use his combat experience and the system mechanics correctly, and getting out of here will just be a matter of time. He decides that he no longer needs to rely on anyone from the outside for help, and as soon as he gets out, he promises to hunt down the game developer. Suddenly, a voice orders the carriage to stop. A guard introduces himself as Hyuk Mujin, the captain of the gatekeepers of the Great Jin family estate, and asks them to identify themselves and state the purpose of their visit. The coachman responds that they came from the Crimson Flower. Hyuk questions if that's the infamous brothel and asks what business people from the Crimson Flower have at that place. The coachman tries to explain, but the gatekeeper hears a cough coming from inside the carriage. The young master thinks Hyuk should know who he is. Hyuk remains silent as Jin convinces himself that his identity has been recognized. He tells the guard to keep up the good work. He tries to close the carriage window, but he's stopped. The gatekeeper, in a serious tone, orders him to get out. The protagonist is silent in disbelief. He asks if Hyuk is really telling him to do that. The gatekeeper sarcastically asks, "Did I say to the air?" The young master wonders what kind of reaction this is. Does Hyuk really not know who he is? Confused, he comments that he lives there. Hyuk replies that he lives there too. The protagonist tries to explain. Hyuk interrupts, saying he knows he's trying to claim that he's the third young master of the Jin family. Jin remains silent, as the gatekeeper says he's fully aware of who he is. He tells him to get out of the carriage, explaining that they need to follow standard protocol. The protagonist looks at the other guards and notices something odd as he steps out of the carriage. Something is wrong. Hyuk, holding a piece of paper, asks for his name. The young master, irritated, wonders, who the hell are they trying to treat like a criminal? He responds that his name is Jin Taekyung. The gatekeeper asks for his affiliation. The young master replies that he's from the Jin family of Taiyuan. Next, Hyuk asks for his age and stage of his martial arts. He responds, 20 years old and second-rate warrior. The gatekeeper sighs and tells him to put aside his pride and just answer honestly. The young master remains silent, wondering if Hyuk really expects him to admit that he became a second-rate warrior just by distributing his status points. Hyuk comments that he'll ignore that for now. He asks where he's returning from since he's been gone for a few days. The protagonist responds that he came from the Crimson Flower. The gatekeeper begins mocking him, saying it's funny that he stayed in an expensive brothel for a few days. It must have been enjoyable for him. Sarcastically, with a mischievous smile, Hyuk even asks if he stole from the family's funds again. The young master wonders, what does he mean by again? Meanwhile, the gatekeeper asks why he looks so upset. He says that the young master always does this sort of thing. The protagonist reflects on how frustrating it is to be seen as the family disgrace. Hyuk approaches him from behind. He says that even though he's just a gatekeeper, he'll give him a warning. He orders Jin to stop tarnishing the family's honor. He says that, at the very least, he should try to live like a decent human being. The young master Jin remains silent, as the gatekeeper orders them to pass through. The protagonist thinks, I know this is just a game, but it's driving me insane. He tells Hyuk, stop right there. The gatekeeper looks back and notices the young master charging toward him. Jin shouts, you're done for. Meanwhile, elsewhere, a man kneels, waiting for the head of the family. The head, going through paperwork, asks him to speak. The man says, I have a valuable subordinate working for me, someone who deeply respects the main family and is highly competent, but a bit arrogant. The head tells him, get to the point and stop dragging things out. The man explains, my subordinate got into a fight with the third young master. The head comments, sounds like something he would do. What happened to the youngest son? The chubby man replies, they took the young master to the infirmary, and he's unconscious and covered in bruises. The head remains silent, as does the guard. The chubby man bows to the ground, begging for forgiveness and taking full responsibility. The head asks, can I see the boy? I want to talk to him. The man pleads for the family head's forgiveness and mentions he also needs medical attention. The head of the family asks, is he being treated now? The man replies, he is, and he's in the infirmary because he broke a bone. The head tells the chubby man, don't worry about my request, and dismisses him. The family head remains silent. Suddenly, he throws some scrolls into the air and calls, Wei Peng. The subordinate responds, I'm here, sir. The family head, smiling, says, I'll take a quick stroll. Meanwhile, Wei Peng sighs. The protagonist recalls the fight against the gatekeeper as he charges at Hyuk. The gatekeeper dodges and lands a kick on the young master. The gatekeeper comments, Jin is better than I thought, but if he's a martial artist, he should learn to fight using martial arts, not just flail his fists around randomly. Irritated, the young master tells him, shut up, and keeps charging, but he keeps receiving hit after hit. The protagonist thinks, I believed I was strong since I managed to defeat that guy with 1,000 strength. Log out my ass. At this rate, I'll die before that. As the gatekeeper continues landing blows, Jin reflects, at least I managed to land one solid hit. The young Master Jin suddenly gets up and headbutts Hyuk's chin, wondering, what level is this Hyuk Mu Jin guy at? He checks and sees that Hyuk's level is 20, realizing, I need to shut up and focus on leveling up. Suddenly, a system window appears, notifying, you've woken from sleep mode. The young master wakes up, disoriented, and the doctor notices. Is the young master awake? He asks. The protagonist asks, where am I? The doctor responds, you're in the medical room. You've been unconscious for an hour. Lying on the bed, Jin wonders how he ended up in the infirmary and how he was knocked out for an hour. He panics upon realizing an hour has passed and tries to get up quickly, but feels pain. The doctor warns him, your body is covered in bruises, so it's going to hurt. He advises, don't do anything unnecessary. Rest as much as possible. Jin remains silent, takes a deep breath, and looking at his status window says, shit, I didn't think I'd end up in this state. He decides to allocate all his points into strength and thinks, if I had distributed my status points earlier, I might have won. But the way I was moving, levels and status points wouldn't have made a difference. If I want to defeat him, I first need to become proficient in martial arts. Outside the room, the doctor says, this is the room. A voice thanks him. Then, someone enters the room saying, what a pitiful sight. The young master is confused and wonders, who the hell is this monster? The family head asks about his condition. The doctor reports, he's covered in bruises, but there's nothing to worry about. Jin uses his chi sensor. The family head, with a series, he says, at the very least, one of Jin's legs should have been destroyed. Terrified, the protagonist quickly turns his face and thinks, this man must be above level 30. His level is quite high. The protagonist reflects on this as he observes the doctor's behavior and the way the man is acting toward him. Looking at his face, the answer becomes clear, and he calls him Father. The family head thanks the doctor for his help and says, you can leave. Jin begs the doctor not to leave, saying, I can't be left alone with that man, and asking, big guy, calm down a bit. As the doctor leaves the room, the protagonist pleads for him to save him, thinking, what kind of doctor abandons a patient like that? The family head says, there must be a limit to stupidity. How long do you plan to live like this, brat? The young Master Jin thinks, this is the end for me. Meanwhile, the family head continues. At the first chance he gets, Jin chases after women, and when he gets his hands on a bit of money, he gambles it all away. He comments, it's because of this behavior that he's despised by the family, continuing to call him little shit. He declares loudly, if Jin keeps acting like this, he'll have to face severe punishment, while secretly tending to his injuries. The young master, confused, asks, what are you doing? With a faint smile. The family head says, I'm glad it was just an injury. He then asks, why did Jin fight that kid when he's never trained in martial arts? Jin, panicking, asks, who is he? The family head says, it seems the youngest son hit his head. He then asks, where is the doctor? Saddened, he asks, does the young master really not remember anything? Jin responds, I don't. The big man insists, asking, don't you remember even a little? The protagonist decides to fake having amnesia, thinking it's the best choice for now. The family head sighs deeply and asks, do you at least remember what you just said? The young master asks, what do you mean? The big man asks for his name. The protagonist responds, my name is Jin Wee Kyung, the youngest head of the Jin family in Taiyuan, 35 years old and still single. Jin Wee Kyung then asks about the rest of the family. The young master says, our father is traveling across the continent, and our mother passed away 10 years ago. His brother replies, good job. He then asks about the second brother. The young master, Jin, responds, he is the heavenly blade Jin, Jin Mu Kyung, 25 years old, and currently a disciple of the Divine Gate Temple. The big brother acknowledges that he's right, but notes, I don't recall ever mentioning that nickname. The young master says, my head is starting to hurt. The brother suggests, you should get some rest. Sometime later, the doctor informs him, it's just a simple contusion, and the swelling and bruises will disappear within 4 days. As he walks out, a servant approaches the young master, saying, I will escort you to your residence. While walking, the protagonist thinks, Jin Wee-kyung must have sent someone to explain things to me. After walking a bit further, the servant shows him the residence and says, we've arrived. He mentions, the young master's room is on the second floor. A system message appears asking, would you like to learn the selected martial art? The young master, Jin, says, of course, the system would help him learn martial arts, and that makes his life much easier. Thank God. As he's about to accept, he notices something strange and asks, what is it? He remembers that he already has the Jin family's cultivation technique, footwork technique, and spear technique. He wonders if there's a limit to how many martial arts he can learn. If that's the case, he tosses the manual into the air. He says that with all these manuals, he shouldn't waste his skill slots on third-class martial arts. He decides he will focus only on the best martial arts available. When he sees the title of a scroll labeled, The Greatest Material of the Night King, he can't believe it. He realizes it's an erotic novel. By nightfall, Jin Wee-kyung, having finished all the paperwork, sighs deeply. Wee-pang compliments him on a job well done. As they walk back to the residence, Wee-pang mentions that it's a bit cold and drapes a coat over his master. Wee-kyung thanks him and says that without Peng, he'd probably always be bedridden. Peng asks what else he can do and jokes that by now, he's basically a housewife. The family head tells him not to say such things because the elders are already pressuring him to get married. He remembers his intended bride and believes that in the end, he'll have to go through with it for the sake of the family. Peng observes that the moon is very bright and comments that they probably don't even need the lantern. They notice a light coming from a residence. Peng asks if that's the third young master's residence. Wee-kyung confirms and mentions that it's late, but the lights are still on. Peng suggests they visit him another time, confident that the young master is just pretending to have amnesia because he probably got drunk as usual. The family head tells him to be quiet. As they approach the window, they hear a strange noise. Irritated, Wee-peng uses sound transmission and comments that he underestimated the third young master because he can't believe he brought a woman here. He tells Wee-kyung to listen closely, betting his entire month's salary on what's happening inside. The family head tells him to shut up and check it out. The guard protests, saying he really doesn't want to witness anything obscene, but since his master is forcing him, he reluctantly takes a peek. What he sees leaves him completely surprised. The young master is training and reading martial arts manuals. The protagonist, sweating profusely, mutters, now I need to take 2 diagonal steps. But he missteps, twists his foot, and shouts, damn it, who the hell created this shitty martial art? The family head, watching, calls out Peng. He responds with a hesitant, yes, sir, with a slight smile. Wei-kyung reminds Peng that he was the one who made that bet. He informs him that he won't be getting paid this month. Peng stays silent, exhausted and dripping with sweat. The young master complains, this is really hard, but gulps down water. He admits, this is exactly what I needed. He reflects that out of all the books in the room, he can't believe only a few are erotic novels. But at least I'm grateful to still have the Jin family's spear and footwork techniques. He begins reviewing the Jin family's footwork technique. Upon reading its description, he scoffs, simple my ass. This was ridiculously complicated. He realizes that if he missteps even slightly, he'll fail. And if he delays even a little on the next sequence of actions, he'll fail again. He concludes that it's a miracle he managed to learn it. The protagonist notices that dawn is breaking. He thinks, even with the system, it cost me half a day to learn this technique. He wonders how long it will take to learn the spear techniques. Stretching, he remarks, it's already my 5th day in this world. Whether it's time manipulation or some other manipulation, I don't care anymore. I just know that the only things I can do for now are to focus on what I can realistically achieve. Either way, he decides to end his training session, but forgets to put away a book behind him, the great material of the night. King, lying in bed, the protagonist is circulating his chi. The servant enters the room and, surprised, comments, the young master is already awake. Jin laughs and says, I couldn't sleep. He thinks, ever since I started properly circulating my chi, I can definitely feel my mind clearer, and I notice that I don't get tired as easily. The servant says, it's possible that your injuries could worsen, so you should rest plenty. The young master Jin thinks, most of my pain has already subsided. He says, I understand. As he is about to continue, the servant interrupts him and says that he can speak informally with him. There's no need for so much formality with someone like me. The protagonist agrees, saying, you're right. He asks, is there a training room? They fall silent for a moment before the young Master Jin says, I'll just speak as I normally do. He thinks, this damn game has amazing graphics, but I'd feel bad speaking informally to someone older. The servant replies, as the young master wishes. He asks, what do you need? Sometime later, the servant hands a report to the family head. After reading it, the family head thanks him for his work and tells him he can leave. Once the servant closes the door, Jin Wee-kyung throws his paperwork into the air and declares, it's a happy occasion, so I won't work today. Peng catches the flying papers and asks, under what condition are you making that statement? He warns, if the others hear it, things will get problematic again. Wee-kyung responds, my younger brother is apparently giving his all to learn martial arts the best way possible. So how could I work under such circumstances? Peng asks, do you know what's more important than that? He brings up the current issues with the elders. Irritated, the family head says, to hell with those old geezers. They're too annoying. Peng asks permission to say something, but Wee-kyung refuses, saying, I don't want to hear it. Peng, however, replies, I'll refuse the refusal. He points out, this is the 5th time the family head has diverted funds from the family's coffers, not to mention all the other things he's stolen. He states, if we were strictly following the family laws, Wee-kyung should have been executed long ago. It's a miracle he's still alive. Peng admits, I see the family head as a beloved younger brother, but to the rest of the people, he's someone they hate. Wee-kyung asks Peng, do you have something against my little brother? He questions his tone of voice. Visibly frustrated, Peng replies, it's because of all the trouble the 3rd young master has caused that the family head is slowly losing his position to the elders. Wee-kyung remains silent as Peng continues, it's not just that. The elders are aware that the 3rd young master still receives acceptance from the family, which he uses to create even more problems. The family head shouts, those elders are bastards, but then sighs. Peng says, that's all I had to say, and adds, they need to treat the young master like a man. The two fall silent for a moment before Wee-kyung finally says, this will be the last chance. Peng, incredulous, asks the family head to wait, but he responds, I already said it. The 3rd young master is no longer a child. He adds he lost his memories and has become a different person because of it. Wee-kyung asks Peng, haven't you noticed that Jin is different? Peng thinks it's true. He's acting differently and even learning martial arts, which was not typical of him. The family head, looking out the window, seems deep in thought and calls out to Peng. Peng responds, what is it, sir? Wee-kyung, with a smile, says, I've had an idea. He orders Peng to make a declaration on his behalf. Sometime later, Peng appears with a scroll in hand and announces, for breaking the 14 sacred family laws, the 3rd young master, Jin Tae-kyung, will be confined in the training cave for an indefinite period of time. The protagonist starts laughing. Peng orders the guards, imprison the criminal. Wee-kyung uses his spiritual sense and instructs Jin. Don't be alarmed. Listen carefully to what I'm about to say. The young master wonders, what is spiritual sense? Is it something martial artists can do? Peng explains, Jin, you may not be aware due to your memory loss, but you need to understand that you're under heavy scrutiny. Peng continues, it's quite possible you could receive a harsher punishment than this, and that's why the youngest head of the family decided to handle the matter on his own. Even though the punishment is stated as indefinite, do you really believe the family head would imprison you forever? The young master thinks, Peng is right. There's no way that guy would do that. Peng explains, you'll be there for a maximum of 7 days. The protagonist asks, could it be just 3 days? Wee-kyung tells him to stop complaining. The young master, Jin, notices the look in Peng's eyes, the eyes of someone who could easily destroy him. He wonders, is Peng good at fighting? And activates his chi sensor as he measures Peng's chi. The servant asks, what do you think? Startled, the young master replies, everything is fine. It sounds perfect to me. In the mountains, the family head waits for the young master, Jin. When he notices their arrival, he turns around and sees Peng bringing the young master along with the guards. Wee-kyung remarks, he's finally here. The young master greets his older brother. Jin Wee-kyung says, I can no longer ignore your actions. As the family head, the youngest head, I will condemn you to solitary confinement. He asks, is there anything you'd like to say? Jin responds, there is, but Peng gives him a warning glance, and the young master lowers his head humbly, accepting the punishment. Wee-kyung orders the guards, confine the criminal in the training cave, and report his release. Later, the guards open the gate, and begin leading him inside. Just as he's about to enter, Wee Kyung uses his spiritual sense. "I've arranged everything he might need," he comments. "Little brother, good luck." Hearing those words, the young master gives a slight smile. At nightfall, Wee Kyung wonders if his brother is doing well. Peng reassures him, saying, "I'm sure he's fine. Stop worrying." The family head, still concerned, paces back and forth. His body hasn't fully recovered yet. Wee Peng responds, "You're acting as if the young master is about to drop dead any moment. The type of injuries he has are something anyone can recover from." Wee Kyung disagrees, explaining, "I've known how fragile and weak his brother has been since he was a child." Peng asks, "What do you mean by weak?" The number of precious medicinal pills and herbs he has consumed could fill this entire room. He also brings up last year's incident with the 1-year-old ginseng, reminding Wee Kyung that the head physician was so furious, he wanted to cut the third young master's stomach open. Wee Kyung says, "I don't want to talk about that incident again." Peng chuckles, but Wee Kyung sighs, mentioning, "Between my younger brother's problems and the family's internal and external issues, my stress is skyrocketing. However, the secret meeting of those people is what concerns me the most." Peng mentions the sword sect of Mount Hang. Wee Kyung asks, "What might their intentions be?" Peng replies, "I have already sent some men to investigate." The family head then brings up the province of Shanxi. "We need to ensure we're prepared for whatever the sword sect of Mount Hang might do." Inside the training cave, there's a comfortable bed, various weapons for training, and a spring for bathing. However, the young master is fully focused on his training. Using the system to assist him, he practices the skill, Heavenly Break. Suddenly, several system messages appear. Required amount for completion, 100 by 100. You have learned the Jin family spear technique. Due to repeated training, your skill stats have increased. Strength +1, stamina +1, agility +1. Surprised, the young Master Jin says, "I didn't know stats could be increased that way." He sits on the floor, exhausted, looking at the hole where sunlight seeps through. "I thought this place would be more like a damp underground prison," he comments. "If I'd known it was like this, I would have begged to stay longer." A system window appears, notifying you are suffering from fatigue and hunger. Find a food source and rest adequately to allow your body to recover. The protagonist says he doesn't have much time and can't afford to waste an hour resting. He remembers the grain pills he found earlier and pulls one out. However, he complains about the terrible smell and questions if they're really meant to be eaten. Reluctantly, he comments that they're supposed to be good for the body and swallows the pill quickly. He feels the change in his body, with his stats temporarily increasing by 2 for an hour. Seeing the stat boost, he gets excited, opens his character profile, and comments, "Since that, it's incredible." He says it's best to load up on these goblin turds and begins eating several at once. Suddenly, several system windows appear saying, "You have consumed multiple grain pills. No additional effects will be granted. You feel extremely full and rested, but due to the status effect, excessive consumption, you will be unable to move for the next hour." Immediately after, he begins vomiting. Sometime later, the protagonist resumes his spear training, increasing his skill mastery by 3. He keeps training, leveling up gradually, while using the system's targeting assistance. As he levels up, the difficulty also increases. A system message appears notifying him of a failure, and the young master, Jin, irritated, questions, "What the hell is going on?" Frustrated with the system, he asks why it's getting harder as he improves, which only irritates him more. Exhausted, he wonders what the problem is, sighs, and decides to try again, but slower this time. He starts with Lone Dragon's Thrust, then moves on to Black Iron Twist, followed by Spear's Return, then Divine Sovereign Strike, and finally, Heavenly Break. The system window notifies that his technique has improved, and he comments that he finally did it. But upon noticing, he asks if it was the footwork technique that improved and begins wondering why that happened. After a while, the protagonist smiles faintly and says he understands now. He realizes that while using the Jin family's spear technique, if he combines it with the Jin family's footwork technique, he can feel the flow of chi when he attacks using Heavenly Break. The wall explodes, scattering debris everywhere. After the attack, the young master comments, "So that's how it's done." Right after, he collapses on the ground from exhaustion. As the dust settles, a huge hole in the wall is revealed, caused by the young master's attack. Suddenly, several system messages appear, notifying, "You have depleted all your chi. You are suffering from extreme fatigue and exhaustion. You have unlocked an achievement, one body, one mind. You have discovered how to properly utilize your martial arts. Your skill mastery has significantly increased. In the real world, the protagonist's friend wakes up. He must have fallen asleep on Tae-kyung's bed again, he comments. If Tae-kyung got up, he could have at least woken me up too. He wonders, where the hell did he go? Noticing something inside the capsule, he approaches to check. He presses the button, and the capsule begins to open. It looks super uncomfortable, Song comments. How does he manage to sleep in there? Crazy. He gives Tae-kyung a light smack on the head to try to wake him up. He removes the VR headset and tells him to wake up. Let's grab something to eat and cure our hangovers. The protagonist opens his eyes. Are we going to eat again? He asks, when he realizes he's lying on the hard ground after training. Looking at his status window, he's surprised. I'm now at level 13? Did I really gain 2 full levels? He wonders. No wonder my body feels stronger and lighter. Observing the other system windows, he notices that even the level of his skills has increased. He sees that he has received an item called Piece of Spirit, a ring. He puts it on and says, feels like I hit the jackpot this time. Training hard does have its benefits. Excited, he distributes his available points, increasing strength and agility by 10 each. With his spear in hand, he declares, before leaving this place, I'll push my skills to the limit. In the lone dragon's thrust stance, he pauses. With my current strength, could I defeat that bastard? He wonders. Probably still not enough since there's a level gap. He decides to stop thinking about that little shit and focus solely on training. Suddenly, 2 system windows appear, notifying him. New feature. Training mode is now available. You can now summon illusions of previous opponents you fought. However, if the opponent is 10 levels above yours, summoning them will not be possible. The young Master Jin is confused, but soon sees the training mode window, showing the list of available opponents. Centenary Strength and Hyuk the Gatekeeper. He selects Hyuk the Gatekeeper and is surprised to see him appear. Observing him, he comments, he looks identical to the real bastard. When he tries to touch him, his hand passes through. Perfect. At least I won't get beaten up by him. A system notification reads, you can adjust the level of the summoned opponent. The protagonist asks, is that true? I want to see Hyuk at half strength. The system begins loading his data and upon completion, informs him the summoned form will use only 50% of its strength. The young Master Jin observes, commenting, those annoying eyes haven't changed. A new system window appears. You will now begin your training. Without hesitation, the young master accepts and charges at Hyuk with a spear. The illusion dodges the attack easily and counters. But the young master quickly strikes back with his spear, forcing the illusion to retreat. The protagonist then applies what he's learned and challenges Hyuk to dodge his next move. The illusion tries to dodge, but ends up getting hit in the face. Surprised, the young master wonders, is this too easy? Is half his strength really this weak? Excited, he decides to fight him at full strength. The two engage in an intense battle. Meanwhile, at the main gate of the Jin family's territory, guards spot a carriage approaching. The gatekeeper orders them to stop and begins inspecting everyone. Where have you come from? He asks. A young man, accompanied by his guards, replies, we came from Mount Hang. Back in the training cave, the illusion of Hyuk is continuously being defeated. The young Master Jin scratches his head, saying something feels off. Questioning why he keeps winning, he wonders, is it just the appearance that's the same? This simulation is supposed to show the power difference between him and a stronger person. What's the point of this crap if he's winning easily? He comments, just because I learned a few martial arts over the past few days doesn't mean I should be this strong. He considers the possibility that it could be the difference in weapons and thinks, I need to know what Hyuk typically uses. I need to give him a proper weapon. He gets an idea and says, what if I give him my spear technique and footwork technique? A system window notifies, Hyuk, level 20, has received the Jin family's spear and footwork techniques. The young Master Jin comments, with this he should be able to identify where he's stuck in his techniques. Things should be fair now. The illusion of Hyuk picks up the spear. The protagonist, watching, thinks, his face still pisses me off. Quickly, he declares, I want to see who will win this time. He charges forward with his spear, but Hyuk ducks and tries to counter by striking the young master's leg. However, the protagonist anticipates the move, spins mid